How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the next episode. We are permanently binding the piece that goes over the fuel tank. You'll see I've already cut the 4" by 10 sections. I have not done anything with the part that bonds the ski locker, as we talked about earlier, because I'm going to Kevlar that over. And plus, I still got to make the door for the ski locker, so I'm debating on how that's all going to work out, so I'm going to leave that alone for now. You'll also see here I fastened in a centerpiece. It's two 3/4" pieces of plywood, marine grade, attached to each other. The trick that I've done with this, and I was thinking about it for a while, is I actually have the 1.5" not sitting on the vent line, but there's a piece of angle iron here, and it's about maybe 1/8 of an inch off of that. So if it does get any kind of traffic on it, it'll hit this piece of angle iron and it won't mess with the tube. Although it looks pretty close, I promise it's not that. Okay, so just like we did with the front section, what we're going to do is we are going to apply a good amount of the marine grade adhesive on all the sections, on all the stringers. As we work our way back here, I marked so I know not to put too much adhesive, at least for the time being. And you can see here on the other side, we've marked it as well. So pretty easy process, nothing too crazy. It's going to be a lot of screws. I'm probably not going to put any screws across the center. Maybe not, I don't know. I'm still kind of debating on that. Okay, so what you can see here is I'm doing a screw every 6 inches. And what I like to do is I like to draw out all the lines and then work from the front part of the boat all the way to the rear. And what that does is it keeps from having too much stress being put, keeps from any kind of warping. You notice too, I don't countersink these. Stainless steel screws, for whatever reason, tend to be kind of weak in some ways. So what I like to do is just flush them up with the top and call it good. We're going to run Kevlar over the entire top piece here, so it won't be any problems here. But you can see 6 inches is what we're going with these 305 stainless steel screws. Now, one of the things to notice here, I call it stitches in some way, because this bond between the two pieces, number one, is super straight because of those 3/4" pieces of marine grade plywood underneath. The seam is super flat. And look at all these stainless steel screws we got. We got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 screws just right here. This bond I like to create like this, it makes it where it's super strong. And as people are walking in this pretty high traffic area, we don't have to worry about any type of cracks or anything happening. And as you're looking at this sheet here, I took the time to count all of them, and there's actually, believe it or not, 90 screws in this sheet here. So I feel pretty confident that this one isn't going to have any issues. The one behind me is probably going to have twice as many because there's stringers, bulkheads, and whatnot. But it's going to give it plenty of strength for the years to come here. Now the stringer or the flooring that covers the fuel tank, that one's going to have, it looks like, about 67 screws on it. Okay, so we are approaching the very last two here. You can see I had someone tag me on this. I didn't write that myself, but anyway, it's kind of funny. It's the last part of the decking, so figure we include something, although that wasn't my idea. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get these last two pieces of flooring attached. You'll see as well, don't forget this part, is you'll need to make marks to where the stringer terminates on the transom. You'll see over here, same thing, although the one closest really doesn't need a mark. So that's that. Okay, and on that prior sheet you can see we added quite a lot of screws on it as part of the bonding joint here. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's finish this one off. Let's put these last two pieces and then talk about the next steps. Okay, and you can kind of see here, I'll move the screws over as we finish the last little sheet here. We've got the snap line in place, and this one is set to have quite a lot of screws installed. All right, coming down perfectly so far here. Yeah, 21 screws on this. It's going to look good. That'll be nice and strong on this back corner. And these end pieces, like right here, I like to go in real slow because, like I said, with these stainless steel screws, they do like to snap off. So far, out of this whole box of 5 pounds, I haven't had that issue. On prior boxes, I've actually had it where I snapped off at least 2 or 3, enough to remember that I wasn't very happy with that. Alright, you can see some of the adhesive coming out from in between. We'll probably grind some of that out so when we bend our Kevlar over the side here, it doesn't cause some issues there. Alright. Okay. One more screw to go, and then we will go ahead and finish this off on the other side. Okay. Been kind of talking about it, and I wanted to get a good shot of it. I've been using the adhesive throughout on all the stringers, but here is a really good shot of it. I try to keep the adhesive on the inside of the stringer. Okay. After probably, I don't know, I think I'm up to about 200 screws here. I've officially, as far as I'm concerned, there may be some more, possibly. But as we talk about from front to back, that one right there is our last screw for this decking to be installed. So I want you all to witness this last screw being put in. I know it's kind of silly, but it took forever to get to this point. All right, here we go. All right, so that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes all the sections. I'm going to pan out here. And this is all the sections of the flooring. You can see as we pass through, we've got what I like to call this the joint connection, which has many screws in place. The floor is just littered with these stainless steel screws. I'm sure the original manufacturer probably wouldn't have gone through this much trouble in terms of using screws. I think a lot of them just use mainly nails, but we pulled up all the stops on this one, so to speak, and made sure mechanically it had all the right materials on it. So I hope you've liked what you've seen so far as we progressed here. I know we've been diligently working to get everything concluded here, at least with the flooring, because once the flooring's installed, I tell you what, it's smooth sailing from there. It really is. We're going to use, so this way what you have an idea what we're going to be doing next is along all the outside areas here, like right along here, and as we follow across the back side, we're going to use that epoxy thickening agent, and we are going to tab in some Kevlar as well, and it's going to go all the way to the front along that little dip up there, and where the dewaxer is, where the sunspot is as well up there, and along the edge all the way down here. We're also going to run Kevlar, a 6-inch line of it across this seam, just so you're aware. And that seam, and the one that is right behind this shot here, we're going to run it on that too. So all the seams have roughly 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 screws here, and will be wrapped specifically with Kevlar all the way down. It'll be a 6-inch piece. So like I said, this joint here will likely be stronger than a section of the 1/2 inch in and of itself there, because it's backed up by 3/4. A lot of screws and its own independent piece of Kevlar. So this is it so far. We're getting closer to the end here, so I hope you've all liked what you've seen so far as we progress towards the next episode here. So what we've done now is we've used the epoxy thickening agent, which is that combination of Cabosil, epoxy, chop strand fiberglass, and we've filled in the edges. You can see I've stopped just because I ran out, but the goal was to try to make it clumpy enough where it glues essentially the marine grade plywood to the outer shell, which is fiberglass. So that's what I did down the run, and then as you can see, I've already started to tab it off with the appropriate Kevlar. So it came out pretty good actually. What I'm going to do next, since I've got the tabbing started, I'm probably going to stop right about there, and I'm going to finish capping off that section as well, since I'd prefer to kind of move back to front here. And then once we get that completed, we'll also be running a strand of Kevlar across. You can see I've got the ski locker in place too. I'm doing some mock-up on that. We'll have that, we'll talk about that in the next episode. But this is what we're up to currently, and it's coming along pretty well. That yellow really pops, so really excited about it. And you can see we've tabbed up against the transom. So the transom at that point almost looks like it has 4 layers of Kevlar on it. It's super strong. Alright. Now, an interesting thing that I noted, and this is kind of why I stopped here in this area with the epoxy thickening agent, is as you move a little bit closer, got our speaker wire, but we've got that little, it's a drain essentially, and what it's hooked up to is right over here, and there was like a 5/8 line that connected it, and what it does is if you get anything in this glove compartment, essentially it drains out over there. The problem with it, as you can imagine, is it kind of cuts down on real estate, because they initially had a piece of wood that went straight down, and then this whole area was not available for use per se, and I don't really like that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to probably snap this off right there, and it'll still have a drain, so if it does get any water up in the glove box here, it'll be able to drain down onto the floor, and then it'll make its way to the back. I think this drain hose situation completely cuts out some needed real estate here, because you could essentially slide a cooler under here or something, and having this line, this piece of hose going across it, is completely unnecessary. So as you can see, I stopped right about here, and I've been thinking about it for a little while. I'm likely going to unscrew that, and then we're just going to glass right over it, and then on the outside we'll go ahead and we'll fix it so it looks like it was never even there. But yeah, we'll go ahead and cut that off, and then finish with the epoxy thickening compound all the way forward and into the compartments over here. But yeah, that is definitely going away. And surprisingly, there's actually another one over there, but that was actually for the live well pump that was in there, and as you can imagine, we're not using the live well anymore, so that's also going to get canceled, and we'll cover over it with some Kevlar and fiberglass and all that fun stuff. Okay, So we've completed that joint right there. Looks pretty good. Surprised even with the screws in place we didn't have any more air pockets, so it came out pretty good. As we move along the left side all the way to the front, you can kind of see where I started to put in the epoxy thickening compound towards the front. Put one layer in there. It looks like I'm going to let that kick off for a little bit and then add another layer of it, because it is definitely a little uneven up front there, so I'm going to have to build it up just a little bit so if it does get any water underneath the seats, it'll have the ability to kind of flow out and not just basically sit there and pull up. So I'm going to let that kick off for a little bit and we'll come back and finish it in a little bit. You can also see where I capped off that hole as we talked about earlier, and we'll fill it out from the outside. But that's going to be pretty much it for this episode. I hope you liked it. We are moving along with really good progress. Hit that like button if you thought the video was helpful. Subscribe if you want to see more. As always, leave some comments. You got some questions. We'll catch you up on the next episode. Have a good one, everybody.